Welcome into episode number 70 of Thimbleberry U. I am John Jackay, joined by Amy Wallace from Thimbleberry Financial. Amy, we made it to 70. We're still doing this.
We are, but you're making me feel old. It doesn't feel like that long.
It means you're really good at this, and that's why we've done so many of them. So the reason I'm starting light and with a joke today is we've got a bit of a heavy topic, and I'm going to take a deep breath before we get into it. And that is emotional fatigue. Why did you want to talk about this today?
Yeah, the reason is it's what we're hearing from clients currently.
Mm-hmm.
Our team is feeling it. And we know that in our little world, right, of the people we interact with, if it's a consistent theme, it's an issue. It's an issue not just for our clients and our team, but it's a bigger issue that's out there. And as a team, we have been consciously choosing to try and not be brought down by the things that are causing that fatigue. And with that, we've compiled a list of strategies that work for us. I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be one on this podcast. We know that, as a client recently called it, doom squirreling, and I did put air quotes on that, it can be hard to find a way back.
What is doom squirreling? Doom scrolling is on social when you look at all that terrible headlines, but what's doom squirreling?
Okay, so you know how, I don't know what movie it's from, but my family loves to yell at me. My husband started this when I jump from subject to subject and something new grabs my attention. They all just yell, squirrel.
It's the Pixar movie Up with the balloons.
Yes,
that's where it comes from. Yes.
That's it. So doom squirreling is doing that around negative things.
Ah.
And once you're in that negative path, there's just easy to jump to the next negative thing. And when you do that, it's so hard to find your way back.
It snowballs, it feeds on itself. You're upset about something. Oh, here's another thing to be upset about. Here's another thing to be upset about. So with that in mind, we'll allow just a moment here for squirreling. And what are some of the things causing this widespread emotional fatigue?
So there's a number of things right now that we're hearing from people. I look at it a lot like a bunch of tangled necklaces that you're trying to untangle, and they have all become so tangled that it's hard to see them as individual items. So it's the market currently, right? The market's down. The fear of and likelihood of recession, high inflation, conflict with other countries.
Sure.
General politics in the U.S. Probably politics in other countries, too. The ongoing pandemic, or maybe endemic at this point. Climate issues. There's just a slew of items. And I think for each person, it's different. So, Jag, some of these items are going to hit you in a different way than they're going to hit me.
Yeah, I've definitely dealt with that in my household. Some particular headlines are more disturbing than others, depending on your values and your political affiliation and things like that. Absolutely. So, okay, so just a moment to go through the negative. Let's flip it to the positive. And what are some of the ideas, you mentioned this earlier, that your team uses to battle this emotional fatigue, this doom squirreling? This doom squirreling.
It's a better way to say it.
Yes.
So it's dependent on each person. So I think the list we've compiled fits each of us differently. And even depending on the mood we're in, or if the sun is shining or not, we may pick different items.
Yeah.
So one of the big ones is spending time with people you love and care about and that are uplifting people, right?
Yes.
So it has to be that combination. You have to really care about them. They need to be uplifting because otherwise they're likely to add another necklace into that tangle.
Yeah, it's not just enough to be with, family or somebody that's important in your life, because you have to think about how you feel after you spend time with that person. Do you feel better or worse? So it has to be somebody you care about and somebody that you come home from dinner or drinks or social interaction with and feel good. Man, I'm really glad I spent a few hours with that person. That's important.
Yes. Another one is turning off the news. This doesn't mean just for a day.
You're right.
But turning it off for a couple weeks.
We've done that. I mean, we've checked out, we've had some basic headlines to make sure there was nothing major happening in the world that we missed. But, years ago, we would watch the Sunday morning news shows. We would watch the evening news, the morning news. We don't do that anymore because we knew it was just not good for our mental health.
Yep. And even like you said, we'll look at the headlines. Talking to a neighbor as you go on your morning walks. I know you take your dog for a couple walks a day.
Yeah.
you're going to run into neighbors and some of these topics are going to come up. So even if you don't try to watch the headlines, you're going to get informed just from interactions you have.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned taking a walk. I'd imagine that's on your list too, right?
That actually was next on my list. So I think that's a good one. And what we're going to hear in this list is that various pieces tie together. So one of the things I think is valuable about taking a walk is the looking at nature.
Yeah.
It's a bigger picture. And for me, taking that walk means being cautious about if I am taking that walk with noise, meaning am I listening to something or am I not? What's happening and what input am I taking during that walk?
Take a cue from our dog. Stop and sniff every once in a while.
Yes. I happen to particularly like taking that walk either silently or with an audiobook.
Okay.
Because with podcasts, you just don't know how much some of these items may come into play.
Sure.
And so I want something controlled to make me feel better. Mm-hmm. Another thing on the list is meditating.
Yeah.
That's one that many on our team have embraced, even if they didn't do it before.
Yeah, there really is something about the mental effect on the physical, and getting your mind right can really make your body feel so much better. What else on your list?
Touched on it during Take a Walk, but get out in nature to see that bigger picture. It's not necessarily a walk, but go sit by a river or a lake. You know, I have a spot in my backyard that I sometimes love to sit and just watch the hummingbirds and the dragonflies.
There you go.
And by the way, bees are very interesting to watch. We touched on the next one, which is listening to something uplifting, much like being with a person. Find something that will feel good. Turning off noise is another. So we talked about the news, but completely drop social media for a while if you need to. I've done that and it felt spectacular. My only problem with doing it is I'm part of a advisor group on Facebook that communicates that way. And my rowing stuff is all on Facebook. So I want to check into that, which means I see the rest of everything. And then someone on my team turned off all the notifications on their phone.
I'm about to do that. So we're actually, full disclosure, recording this in July, right before I leave to go to Iceland with my wife for a week. And granted, we'll have a Wi-Fi hotspot should we need to communicate with the outside world for any reason. But I am going to turn off all phone notifications. I might check, being a business owner, I might check my email once a day at night, but I am turning off all notifications. Phone is on Do Not Disturb, and we're going to just kind of get out and enjoy the scenery and what a foreign country has to offer. So I love these ideas.
That is awesome. Different than being with other people is make alone time. And this is total alone time. Be with yourself, in quiet with yourself, be comfortable with yourself, because if you can be okay being with yourself, we found it's easier to take what's coming at you.
Yeah, that's true. I think an important point of differentiation here too is, I've talked about my wife Ellen a lot on the show. I get energy from being in a group of people and being around people. She prefers to get her energy from having alone time. So I think it's important to know that about yourself, whether you derive energy from being around others or having alone time. And they both work for all people, but figuring out what amount both of those should play with each other in.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you brought that up because, for me, as our team was making a list, the alone time absolutely hit my radar. The first one I shared was spending time with people you love and that are uplifting. Was definitely the extroverts on our team saying that. And at first I went, no. And then, yes, no, it is true for me too, but just on a very different scale.
Yeah, and it has to be, like we said, with the right people. Okay, what else?
This one our team almost universally agrees on. A little mindless labor that provides a positive end. So it's about that sense of accomplishment. And I think it really ties back to what you can control and influence and doing something that ends in good and that you can immediately see. So cleaning was one our team said, go clean the kitchen. it just feels good to all of a sudden it's clean. For me, a big one like this is weeding. I don't love to weed, but I love the end result of weeding.
We did that last weekend. Completely get it. Yep.
Similar, find a creative outlet to put that pent up emotion into. So exercise.
Yeah.
Baking. I'll share my 6-year-old and I just found the Food Network's kids baking competition.
Ah, okay.
He is all about baking right now. First thing is he wants to make brownies without a box. But he's also been using boxed cakes and decorating them, and it's just been a hoot. And it's so much more fun to put our energy there.
Definitely engages a different part of your brain for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sewing and coloring are two other ones that might fit here.
Yeah. And, you've probably seen there are even adult coloring books out there. It's not for everybody, but if it floats your boat to take out some frustration by coloring in some swear words in an adult coloring book, whatever it takes to sort of get your mind going or less, kick into that other part of your brain, not the logical side, but the creative side, and get those get those endorphins going.
It really gets endorphins going, yeah. One of our team members said spending time with animals really helps. That's one they really enjoy.
Well, you're speaking my language with that. I love my pup, and she gets, as you mentioned, she gets her morning walk, she gets her evening walk, and sometimes just walk into a room. And my favorite thing about owning a dog is the smallest little thing, but when I walk into a room, she sees me walk into a room and she wags her tail. I just love that. That just gets my endorphins going, because she's just a sweetheart like that.
Absolutely. I put we have 2 dogs, and one of them was in the room when we got on earlier today. And just so our listeners know, we see each other while we do this. But one of my dogs climbed up on the desk and Jag got to see her. But the other one, I put her up in my son's room so it would be quiet in the house. And in doing so, she looked at me like, oh. And I turned around and she knew I was coming to her, and she just wagged her tail while laying there. And it was just the best little, I love you, Mom.
Yep, absolutely.
Before I walked out.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have a pet, go take a walk around a zoo. There are many things you can just, by observing animals, that goes back to the nature part as well.
Volunteer.
Animal shelters, for sure.
Yeah. Next one is, I think we often overlook, and little things on the list so far have touched on this, but take care of yourself.
Yes.
I think that means giving yourself the time you need for yourself along with others, but making sure you eat properly. It might be limiting alcohol consumption when you're overwhelmed like this. It might be easy to actually increase that. But I've found, for example, if I drink alcohol or eat sugar, I don't sleep.
I am the same way. 1 beer with dinner and I don't sleep as well. And so I feel so much better exercising more and cutting alcohol. I mean, go out to dinner and have a cocktail or something once in a while, or on vacation, sure. But I have found myself feeling and sleeping so much better just not having a beer with dinner.
Absolutely. So that ties to getting rest and getting exercise.
I have to tell you, as a birthday gift in December, I got a watch that's tied to my phone. I won't say the brand name, but it's got all these little rings that you close for your activity every day. And it has kept me honest as far as getting up and moving and doing stuff. I'm going to get on the exercise bike here in a minute when you and I are done recording here today because I have to keep my streak going, and it's gamification and it's all this stuff, but it's almost like a video game for me, but it actually keeps me honest, and I've actually been able to lose some weight over the last 6 months. So eating better and taking better care of myself, I just feel so much better, and I feel better equipped to deal with some of these negative headlines and burnout that seems to be all around us right now.
I love you brought that up. Mine tracks sleep.
Yep.
And I have a different brand than you do, but mine tracks sleep, and mine has something called a body battery on it.
Oh, I think I know where you're going here.
And it tracks based on like exercise and input, stress level, etc., on a scale of basically 5 to 95, so 1 to 100, how full my personal body battery is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Things that can improve it are better sleep, keeping my stress level down. Exercise may add to my battery level or reduce depending on the type of exercise and just kind of the state I'm in at that point. Mm-hmm. So for me, the gamification has been, my body battery is never at a good spot. How can I make it better? And in the process, I realized I have to fix my sleep. And, as we talked about, sugar and alcohol, they don't fit with that.
We really have come a long way from those mood rings of the 70s, haven't we?
I love it.
All right, as we start to wrap up here, Amy, what else is on our list?
simply talking to someone about how you're feeling, right?
Yeah.
Friends, as we talked about, someone uplifting can be good about that. You also don't want someone who's just a Pollyanna.
Right. You want someone to be honest.
Honest, but they can do it in an uplifting way, and not being afraid to talk with a therapist or a counselor.
I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic has been an increased awareness and openness to talk about mental health. I think so many folks have dealt with so much since 2020 in particular that they're reaching out for help. And I, for one, am thrilled that it is no longer such a taboo topic. And some of it's generational. I think younger generation are more open to talking about it than older generations in some cases. But the fact that all of us are more willing to have a conversation and not be afraid to say, hey, I talked to my therapist, or I went to see my therapist this week, like getting a dental cleaning. It's becoming a lot less of a stigma to it. And I'm really glad for that.
I agree with you fully. I also love that it's now okay to not say, hey, I'm doing great.
Yes.
Or I'm fine. It's okay to say, hey, I'm having a hard time. And I've loved this. I'm sad that it's happening. But at the same time, I love that as I've gotten on meetings, since we're meeting mostly virtual with clients, it's the first thing we talk about. And people have been very upfront, which is why we're recording this, to say, I'm not doing so great. Things are hard right now.
I think that's great. And again, not great that people aren't doing well, but great that they're willing to talk about it. And that ties into the overall theme of our podcast, Amy, which is that what I love about you do at Thimbleberry is you really get into the how and the why of what makes people tick. It really does have a lot to do with understanding what's going on in their heads so that you can help them make the best financial decision for them in their individual situation. And how are you doing seems like a simple question, but it really is the basis to all of us. And I love that you take time to get to know about and care about your clients in that way. And if someone wants to talk to you about becoming a client or about their overall financial situation, whether it's tied into all of these stressors or not, best ways to reach you are?
Give us a call at 503-610-6510 or reach us online at thimbleberryfinancial.com.
I think this is an important check-in for us, Amy, as we hit our 70th episode today. Good talking, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds great, Jag. Look forward to it.
Registered representative, securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisor representative, Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.